Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss Rishi Sunak's latest offering of verbal diarrhea, as I think he basically said that everyone who didn't think he'd done an awesome job is an extremist. And it was a tough one to decide what to go with for this afternoon's video. Today was one of those where do I even start days. We've had Suella Braverman pretending to care about poverty, more potential Tory scandals, more anticipation of defections, which even the Tories seem resigned to, Reform UK admitting that they're going to be rubbish in the election, and Penny Mordaunt's special assignment to find out if the world is being secretly run by shape-shifting reptiles. Oh, you think I'm being facetious now, don't you? No, I'm not. That's what she's actually been doing. But I'm going to go with Sunak's speech today because these events will always be a window into how the Conservatives are aiming to frame their election strategy, and the entire focus is on the election right now. I must begin by pointing out, however, that not for the first time a Conservative leader, it's not actually the first time even Sunak's done this, has been mixing party and government business, which they're not supposed to do. He presented his speech with the crest, Downing Street crest on his lectern, meaning that it was a government speech and therefore presumably being funded by the taxpayer. However, the speech was being organised very visibly, or at least sponsored by Policy Exchange, an incredibly opaque think tank. His speech was littered with criticisms of his political opponents. He even smashed the glass on the Jeremy Corbyn cabinet, and it wasn't even PMQs. So really, you got the impression here he was giving the speech as not the Prime Minister, but the leader of the Conservative Party, for which it should not have been a government affair, therefore. The speech itself was a mass of contradictions. At one point, he said he wanted people to be able to respectfully disagree. Oh, how marvellous. Thank you very much. Freedom of speech and all that. Oh, but earlier in the speech, he basically said that anyone who doesn't agree with all of the Tory culture wars is an extremist. He particularly cited people who support trans rights and those supporting Scottish independence, both mainstream political views which are completely non-violent. He said they were extremists. Sunak has been warning of dangers. Now, a government which talks like this is always the real danger. It's the last refuge of would-be fascist populists, isn't it? You talk about the many dangers facing us. Oh, where are they? Oh, they're lurking. They're lurking. Just out of sight, which is why we can't actually see them. And only the grand populist will protect us from them. And it all too often works, because what they'll say is, oh, they're not going to protect you. Like Labour, the Lib Dems, the Greens, they're not going to protect you from them. And that's because these dangers don't exist, so they can't be asked making policies for it. Serious politicians won't do that. But every would-be dictator has pushed the same line at some point. In 100% of cases, when a politician does this, they are the danger. Labour have been saying that the Tories can't provide the solutions to our problems because they are the problem. I would adapt that, and I would say the Tories will not protect us from these unseen dangers because they are the danger. The reference to Putin should have been ironic. Oh, only we will protect you from Putin's barbarism. Trying to claim that only the Conservatives would deal with Russia's overreach. This is the same party which has taken money from Kremlin-backed oligarchs, which told our own security services not to look into Russian interference in our politics. They've put the son of a senior KGB officer into the House of Lords, so seat for life in our parliament. Still not allowed the publication of the Russia report. A party who made the man who slipped his security detail to get drunk with Russian agents Prime Minister. This is to say nothing of all the policies which the Conservatives implemented, which the Kremlin backed, not the least of which was Brexit. At the end, he tried to say that his opponents, presumably chiefly Labour, were trying to make us gloomy about the future, and that he would not resign himself to what he called doomsterism. It's a Boris Johnson word if ever I heard one. And yet, one of Labour's main slogans right now is Decade of Renewal. I'm not sure where the doom and gloom in that slogan is, if I'm honest. And what does Sunak offer us? He's telling us that the country has turned a corner. In other words, that things are already better. No, people aren't feeling that. Does he at least have a plan to do things differently? Well, no, because he insists the plan is working. He's not going to change it. So the actual choice is between Sunak saying his plan is working and Labour promising a decade of renewal. His entire speech was so incoherent. He was trying to say that he refused to accept that things were as bad as the opposition were making out. But he was also saying that people in Britain are subject to hidden terrors, the likes of which only he will protect us from. Which is it? Are things going well, or are we about to be invaded by a demonic horde? Can't be both. He literally said that the next 5 years will be the most dangerous in UK history. The most dangerous. Oh, Second World War? No, that's peanuts compared to what's coming now. Yeah, 5 years as well, by pure coincidence, being one parliamentary term. Oh, like give us one more term. Give us one more term to save you from this 5 years of most dangerous times. So, are we better off now? Are we safer than we were 14 years ago? Or are we in the most danger ever? But despite saying he had bold plans, they were conspicuous by their absence. He talked about things, when he talked about the future and the sort of things that will be coming online in the future, it's always about the advance of technology, the things that are going to happen anyway. The things that are being developed, quite frankly, in other countries as well as this country, they're just going to happen. He didn't talk about any government plans, anything the government's going to do. His entire speech seemed to be an exercise in explaining how the sorry state of the country was actually the fault of everyone except the government. But some of the phrases were completely insane. Like, there was a couple that stood out for me. One was that this election would be a choice between the future and the past. But I mean, in something like that, when you're asked, oh, well, do you want the future or the past? I mean, you're supposed to say the future, aren't you? Oh, I look forward to the future. He and his rotten party are literally the past. They are the past 14 years. The Labour government cannot be anything other than the future because their front bench was almost exclusively completely different to anything that was in the previous Labour administration. What a crazy thing to say. Choose past or future. Future, please. Oh, great. So you're going to vote Conservative then? Well, no, because that would be the past, wouldn't it? He also, was talking about the election again. He said, the choice at the next election is who do you trust to keep you safe? Has he seen the polls? I don't just mean the overall voting intention polls. I mean the breakdown by voting reason. Labour are leading on everything, including crime, and very often, it flips a bit, but very often defence as well. If you are wanting people to vote Conservative, and you know from polling that the public mostly see Labour as being better on crime and defence, the last thing you do is ask people to vote based on who they trust more to keep them safe. I mean, I know I've criticised his advisers before, many times, but bloody hell, the messages were often contradictory, but he can get away with that because the speech was long and boring, as political speeches often are. Ordinary members of the public aren't going to listen to that crap. You can get away with contradictory because you'll have to be listening for it quite a long time to see the contradiction. It doesn't say a thing and then 2 seconds later contradict it. It contradicts it 15 minutes later. So people will just wake up for the bit that chimes with their thinking, won't they? But some of the messages almost seemed designed to help Labour out. That was what was mad about it. Like, who do you trust more to keep you safe? That's something you could imagine Keir Starmer using in his own campaign speech. What will you vote for, the past or the future? Another line that you would guess comes from a speech by the leader of the opposition, not that of a 14-year-old government. Essentially, there seem to be two things to learn in this speech as far as the election goes. The first is the Tories are working on a strategy of scaring the bejesus out of people in order to get them to vote Conservative out of pure fear. Rally to the banner. That's what it is. Oh, we're under attack. We're being invaded. Rally to the banner. The same stunt they always pull when desperate. The same stunts the Leave campaign's pushed. The same stunts Trump has pushed and continues to push. The same stunt every dangerous lunatic in history pushes. And the second lesson, it's not a new one, is that Sunak is going to come a cropper at the election. People aren't going to listen to an hour-and-a-half speech. So much of what he said today will go unnoticed, apart from by political geeks like us. But come the election, he will be limited to 2 minutes at a time in debates, and he can't waffle on too much even in interviews. He will need to be focused with his messages, but his messages are a mess. And unlike with a speech, with interviews and especially debates, there will be someone there to call out his contradictions at the election. I mean, we already knew it, but on a personal level, he's going to crash and burn. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for the memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.